There's something different about this hybrid, and I'm not talking about just its looks. Toyota has brought some real-world usability and surprising agility with this Crown Signia. But here's the thing, it still delivers the efficiency you expect, which makes absolutely no sense. And to explain that, we have to look into why this Crown Signia is different from every other hybrid crossover you may have driven. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, Toyota has come out with an all-new crossover. Surprise, but this Crown Signia is a little bit different than everything else in the lineup. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. For 2025, this Crown Signia is all new, and it's the first time they've put the Crown name on a crossover or an SUV, and I think it's somewhat positioned between the RAV4 and the luxury segment, which might mean Lexus in this case. The powertrain starts with a 2.5-liter four-cylinder. It is a hybrid. Combined output is 240 horsepower with 199 pounds of torque from the front power unit and 89 pounds of torque from the rear electric motor. The transmission is an eCVT. Yes, my friends, it's still a CVT, but we'll get into that later. The all-wheel drive system is on demand because there's the electric motor at the rear. The all-wheel drive system is variable from 100% of torque going to the front axle to 20% front, 80% rear. Suspension's based around McPherson struts at the front, multi-link at the rear. Steering's electrically assisted, of course, four-wheel disc brakes. Wheels and tires are 21s. Towing capacity is actually 2,700 pounds. Curb weight is a little over 4,200 pounds, and on the inside, it is very, very premium. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this, and if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. When you slide in behind the wheel of this Crown Signia, it's a great place to be for a number of reasons. The seat has lots of adjustment, as does the steering column. I could find a very effective seating position here, and the first person that says I sit too close to the steering wheel loses. The steering wheel is great shape, great size. Love the finish here. Encourages you to have your hands at 9 and 3. At this trim level, it's heated as well. The seat is supportive. It's not aggressively bolstered, but it is supportive and comfortable over long distances. It's got basic adjustments, and there is some lumbar support, which I need with my terrible back. But otherwise, I'm very comfortable here behind the wheel. Great interface to the pedals as well. And on top of that, I have to talk about visibility. You've got a great seating position. You're not as low as you would be in a traditional sedan, so you've got a higher seating position. You can see everything in all directions, and this mirror in the Limited is a camera mirror, so you've got the added benefit of that because the camera actually has a wider field of view, but on this channel we know if you adjust your three mirrors properly, blind spots don't exist. Before I get into ergonomics, I do have to talk about fit and finish in this cabin. And while not everything is to a Lexus standard, this is definitely elevated over what you'd see in something with a Toyota badge on it. This is very, very well finished. And as usual, every button, switch, dial, every surface that you touch in this thing, it's very clear that Toyota has made this to last the ages. You just know it's gonna last forever. Ergonomically, this is modern Toyota, so that does mean a number of things, but thankfully the HVAC controls are actually here. They're not built into the screen, which I genuinely appreciate, and certainly over the long term, this is a good thing rather than throwing everything into the infotainment system screen. Very happy about that. Love this shifter as well. This is very similar to the shifter that we originally saw in the LC500, which is excellent, and otherwise it's all pretty straightforward. It's very logical. Everything is laid out where you expect it to be. If you're coming from a Toyota, you're going to feel right at home here. The infotainment system is Toyota's latest. It's easy and simple enough to use on its own. I use it on wireless CarPlay, and I do have to say I love the wireless phone charger here. It keeps the phone out of the way, and probably this is very illegal in my province, but you just slide your phone in there, charges, and wirelessly transmits to the infotainment system. Love the way that works. And until recently, Toyota's infotainment system had all of the usability of a tax form done in hieroglyphics. But this setup is like they hired somebody under 60 to design it. The screen is responsive, the menus make sense, and this is not a drill. Wireless Apple CarPlay stays connected 100% of the time. The instrument cluster is all digital. It is very clear in almost all lighting conditions. Really love the layout. Does change based on your drive mode, and I typically drive this in sport mode, which we will talk about in a little bit. In terms of spaciousness, well, you and your front seat passenger have an abundance of room. There's plenty of storage here in the armrest, a couple of cup holders, little spot here for random things, bottle holders in the doors as well. In the second row, there's a decent amount of space. I can fit very comfortably behind myself in this seating position. And on top of that, you've got a decent amount of headroom, both in the front row and the second row. And in terms of cargo carrying capacity, there is more space under that hatch than I thought there would be. Plus, this will tow up to 2,700 pounds, so you can tow a decent sized trailer with this as well. Acceleration from a stop isn't that exciting. This will do 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, which is quick enough, but it's not really telling the whole story. It's off the line where perhaps it's not the most responsive, but on the go, the combined torque of all the motors help you get up to speed reasonably quickly. Top speed is 116 miles an hour, which is more than fast enough for this part of the world. I really like the way the hybrid system delivers all of the power and all of the torque, and especially in the snow, this thing is incredibly sure-footed. What I did do was put this in sport mode, which I found to deliver maybe a little bit more torque to the rear axle than it would normally do in the standard mode. And in fact, I just try to run this in sport mode because it seems a little bit more satisfying, at least for me. But very happy with the way all of the power and all of the torque is delivered to the ground here, because especially in the snowstorm that I drove through, this thing gave me all the confidence that it had all the traction that I needed. With respect to the eCVT, yes, you eCVT enthusiasts are going to tell me all about it, but if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. This thing drives like a CVT, so you do have those unusual sounds coming from the 4-cylinder because the transmission is doing all of its things, and I'd much prefer a geared transmission here. So we're climbing a little bit of a hill, and let's listen. Engine speed's increasing, and then it just kind of hangs out there for a while. Still, the whole idea behind an eCVT is that it optimizes both performance and efficiency, and technically it does that. It does maximize power delivery, it does maximize acceleration, and then if you are concerned about saving fuel, well, it'll do that too. I think the most impressive thing about the drivetrain for me is how responsive the electric motor is at that rear axle. That torque is delivered instantaneously anytime I'm asking for it, and even if I'm not asking for it, if we are in some slippery conditions where I've been through snow, well, it does respond immediately, and that I'm very, very impressed with. When we go from normal to sport, the drivetrain is much more responsive, and it's actually a little bit more enjoyable to drive, and I just switch it into sport mode all the time. Basically, it's just more engaging for me and more responsive for me, and it's like they've created a hybrid drivetrain here that actually doesn't judge you for your driving habits. And what I've found, for the most part, the transition from electric motor to gasoline motor and back again is smoother than my transition from be sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure you you'll like this video. There are some hybrids out there that switch between power sources like they're having an identity crisis, but this one, it's more seamless than a tech YouTuber's segue to their sponsor. And speaking of smooth transitions, this is why you should use a VPN. No, just kidding. I'm not going to ruin your day with a sponsored video. When it comes to the corners, we've got a fair bit to talk about here. Turn and response, just fine. And what I find is that given that this thing does weigh over 4,000 pounds, it does feel substantial. Thankfully, body and wheel movement is well controlled with the dampers, but I do think that this would really benefit from some adaptive dampers. And at this price point, it's definitely a rarity. I wouldn't be surprised if they probably want to reserve adaptive dampers for a Lexus model rather than something that's branded with Toyota. Suspension tuning is definitely more of the crowd-pleasing variety rather than intended to satisfy drivers like you and me. But for 99.99% of drivers, ride and handling is spot on for the intention of this Crown Signia. Thankfully, steering is great. It's strong on center, translates my inputs into directional change. Very happy with the steering, nothing to complain about here. And maybe I'd like a little bit more feel or feedback, but not what I'd be expecting in something like this Crown Signia. As well, brakes, similarly excellent. Very, very happy with the braking in this Crown Signia, and for a number of reasons. Number one, brakes are strong. I've got great control and modulation through the pedal, reasonable amount of feel through the brake pedal as well, so no real complaints. But when the going gets tough in terms of traction, and I've driven this in a fair bit of snow, I've got a tremendous amount of confidence in this Crown Signia in a number of ways. Braking is one of them, and we are on some winter tires, sure, but this thing is sure-footed under braking, and braking is strong. Very, very happy with the brakes here. Surprisingly, body roll is at a minimum as well. As much as this is shaped like a crossover, it's kind of in between a crossover and a traditional sedan, or maybe this would be a hatchback if it were a sedan, but the center of gravity seems to be fairly low in this thing, and not surprised then that body roll is kept at a minimum. And let's roll into another corner here. Get on the brakes, no problem. Turn in, tracks a decent line, and exit the corner. No issues. Very happy with it that way. And yeah, body roll is definitely at a minimum. And overall, they've done a great job of making the ride and handling package be crowd pleasing. And they've kind of made this 4,200 pound crossover feel like it weighs, well, 4,000 pounds. But to be fair, that's still very impressive for a hybrid crossover in my book. How do you spec yours? Well, that's an easy question to answer. Thankfully, what you are looking at is a Crown Signia Limited in finish line red with the black roof and black leather interior. Base price in the US is $47,990. As tested, this is $50,280 US. In Canada, base price is $57,450, and as tested, this is $60,335 Canadian. That's before freight and local taxes. Now, in terms of speccing yours, I did say it was an easy question to answer, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the way to go. This finish line red is absolutely stunning on this Crown Signia, and it's absolutely not boring. Plus, I like all of the features and luxuries of this limited trim, so as far as I'm concerned, this is the way to go. My verdict, well, let's start with fuel consumption because some of you may want to know. Plus, this is a hybrid, of course, and that's the name of the game here. And I can't seem to do any better or worse than about 29 miles per gallon or 8.2 liters per 100 kilometers for my Canadian friends. It's very impressive as far as I'm concerned because I'm not afraid to use the throttle and drive for fun, not for fuel efficiency. But as far as I'm concerned, this is very impressive. Driving this for the last 7 days, well, it's been easy living. The cameras all around the car give you more views than my YouTube channel. The parking sensors are more sensitive than Twitter users, and the climate control is more consistent than my upload schedule. It's practical luxury without the pretense. It's kind of like wearing expensive underwear. Nobody sees it, but you know it's good. Plus, this thing has more safety systems than I have excuses for missing deadlines. The advanced driver assist doesn't panic like your mom in the passenger seat, but it is less aggressive than sponsored posts on Instagram. Here's the thing, Toyota's actually achieved something here. They've created a hybrid that is still enjoyable to drive without punishing drivers at the pump. The Crown Signia isn't perfect, and no car is, but it proves that hybrid and engaging and luxury aren't mutually exclusive terms anymore. And maybe that's the biggest surprise of all. In 2025, Toyota's newest hybrid crossover is one of the most interesting in its lineup. And the thing is, this doesn't just drive like a well-resolved hybrid. It's got great utility on a day-to-day basis. It's got great usability. It's still very, very efficient, and it's got a tremendous amount of luxury. And I think what Toyota's done here is gone just a little bit extra, which I do appreciate, simply because this is a Crown. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this video, and as always, sharing is caring. So please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. And Toyota still makes manuals. Thanks, Toyota. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Toyota Crown Signias. And since you've hung around this long, well, have a look at our last episode of the Toyota Crown sedan. And it's a little bit different than this, and I think you'll appreciate the differences after watching this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.